Thailand is one of the most sexually confusing places I have ever been to. Not because there's too little sex, but because there's so much of it. In a country that technically doesn't allow any of it. Like, you can go watch a live sex show, but trying to buy a vibrator, illegal. Make it make sense. Now, I want to start out by saying this. I am not an expert on Thailand. I am a newbie. I have been coming here for about 2 to 3 months at a time over the last 4 years. And every time I come back, I feel like I understand a little less, but in a good way, because the more I learn about sex culture and human behavior, the more I realize just how nuanced everything actually is. Sawatika, sabay di mai, chanchun ali. Yes, I am showing off because I started learning Thai this year. I figured since I've been coming and I plan on coming back every year, I might as well learn the language. And I like learning languages. So, chan put Thai dai nit noi. Fuck yeah, that means I can speak a little bit Thai. But for those of you who don't know Thai, hello, my name is Ali. Welcome to my channel. And on this platform, we have some casual conversations about sex, relationships, and other fun stuff. I'm also a sex education student with the Sexual Health Alliance, and I love coming on here and sharing with you all the interesting little bits of knowledge that I'm learning about my body, about sex and relationships, little sex experiments that I try and sharing them with you, and some of the things that I'm particularly interested in sexual attitudes, cultural differences, and especially sex work. And Thailand is one of the most fascinating places to observe all of that. And this is why I'm really excited to share this 4-part series with you that I'm gonna do on Thailand. So I'm gonna make 4 videos because I came on this trip this year with the intention of talking more to locals, to workers, to community leaders, to sexual health experts and foreigners. I've been reading a lot more books and research and so on all about this topic. So stay tuned because I'm going to touch upon the industry, the sex industry. We're going to talk about general sex education and therapy in Thailand, and also touch upon the foreigner community and the stereotypes that exist. But in this video, we're going to talk more in general about sexual attitudes in Thai culture and what I learned. Also, friends, if you are interested in travel, sex, culture, whatever, on my Patreon, I post a lot of behind the scene vlogs of my travel content with me and my partner. So if you're interested in seeing that stuff and also following me along in my sex education journey, then I suggest you click on the link below, which will bring you to my Patreon, and you could support my sex positive content there. It is very much appreciated. I love my Patreon community. You can join for free, or you can join as a paid member and get some special perks. One of them is that I send postcards, if you wish, from places that I am in the world. So yes, I write a little handwritten postcard and you can receive that from me in the mail, but it's just a great way to support sex positive content online. All right, back to the video. When I come to Thailand, I often stay near the red light districts. Not because I'm there to participate, but because I'm there to observe. Because, my friends, these spaces, they're not just about sex. They're about human connection, loneliness, money, power dynamics, survival, and a lot of curiosity. You see so many different kinds. You see a lot of transactions that, yes, some are transactional, and honestly, some are not always transactional. It's like watching a very raw, unfiltered version of human behavior. Honestly, it's the best kind of TV you can get. If you're interested in people, there's almost no place more interesting than, to go to some of these places, grab a soda, sit, and just watch. But here's where it gets confusing. Because you can walk through places like walking street Pattaya, Soy Cowboy, Nana, Patpong, and it feels like sex is everywhere. It's so loud and in your face and visible. But then when you zoom out of those little tiny streets, you realize you're in a culture that is actually deeply modest, indirect, and traditional, very traditional when it comes to sex. One of the places that I visited was called the Erotic Garden and Tea House near Chiang Mai. It's about an hour outside of Chiang Mai. And it's basically what it sounds like, okay? It's a garden that blends natural beauty and plants with sensuality and sexuality. There are penis and vulva statues everywhere. It's quite beautiful. And the owner, her name is Miss Katai. She is this elegant Thai businesswoman and artist, and honestly, one of the most fabulous people I have ever met in my entire life. And she explained to me that words like sexy or erotic erotic don't directly translate into Thai the same way they do in English. And it's not just a language thing, it's a cultural thing. Because I learned that in Thai culture, sexuality isn't typically loud or explicit or verbally expressed. It's a lot more subtle and suggestive. Even affection in public is usually pretty toned down. So PDA and kissing in public, you don't really see that around here. Instead of saying something directly sexual, it's more hinted at, felt, and suggestive. For example, in this museum or in this garden, all the art that is surrounding is all suggestive. It is not explicit at all. Because legally, Thailand is very strict when it comes to sex and explicit content. So under Thai law, anything that is considered indecent or obscene in public can lead to fines or even jail time. Being openly sexual in public spaces and not allowed. Pornography, under the Thai criminal code, producing, possessing in some contexts, and distributing pornography can result in, again, fines and possibly prison time, which is wild considering how many people assume Thailand is sexually liberal. And speaking of porn, in November 2020, the government actually shut down over 120 porn websites, including Pornhub. Now, if we move on to sex toys, this one actually surprised me. Toys are classified as obscene objects, which means importing them is illegal and selling them is illegal. So one of the sexual healthcare providers that I met, she told me that if I was traveling with my sex toys, there is a big chance that I could have gotten stopped at customs. They could have searched my bags, found them. Maybe I would have had a fine to pay. Maybe they would have just confiscated them. But yes, sex toys are illegal. But there are some places where you can buy them very discreetly, and there are some workarounds if it's considered a medical device or something like that. When it comes to prostitution, under the Prevention and Suppression of Prostitution Act in 1996, sex work is illegal. Brothel operation can carry serious prison time, and solicitation is punishable. So technically, the entire visible sex industry shouldn't exist. And to give you a sense of scale here, we're not talking about a small underground scene. Okay. Estimates suggest there are around 200,000 to 300,000 sex workers in Thailand, and some reports can go even higher depending on how it's measured. And when you zoom out even more, the entire ecosystem, including bars, massage parlors, managers, and support staff, can involve up to 450,000 people. This isn't just individuals, it's an entire economic system. What is happening? A total gray zone where something is illegal on paper but tolerated in practice. And the money? This is where it gets even more contradictory. Some estimates suggest that the sex industry generates around 6.4 billion USD dollars per year. Other broader estimates, when you include tourism and surrounding businesses, suggested it could account for up to 3% of Thailand's GDP, or even higher depending on how it's calculated. So again, illegal on paper, but deeply tied to the economy in reality. Now, why is this? I don't know. Maybe economic dependence, tourism demand, long historical roots. But if we look at what Thai culture actually think about sex work, because from the outside, it can look like, hey, Thailand is so open about sex and sex work and they're super chill and yada, yada, yada. But when you actually talk to the people, it's more like, not really. If we're talking about families, okay, if someone else from somebody else's family is doing it, sure, whatever. But if it's someone in their own family, it's still quite frowned upon. There's still stigma, there's shame, there's social distance. Many people enter the industry to support their families or access better financial opportunities, like escaping low-paying farm or factory work, which, by the way, can be way more dangerous and exploitative than actual sex work. But we'll get into that topic in part 2 of the series, so stay tuned for that one. It's not the simplest narrative of empowered or exploited. It's often somewhere in between, because there are so many misconceptions about Thailand's sex industry, which is why I'm here. I like to learn about it and to understand it. Things like Everyone is forced to do it. Everyone is choosing it freely. Thailand is sexually open. None of these are fully true. This is one of the most complex, layered systems I've ever really tried to understand. And this is where I think maybe a lot of people get it wrong. Because I have made videos about Thailand before and I see it in the comments. I see people throwing things around like everyone's trafficked, everyone's exploited, so on and so on and so on. And it's so easy to throw around those things without ever actually going there and talking to people and understanding it and breaking down the nuance of it all. Because you could say the same thing about sex work in general for people all over the world, not just for Thailand, right? So anyways, it's a very complicated situation. And again, I think this is where most people get it wrong because it's so easy to jump to the extremes like this is all empowerment or this is all exploitation. But in reality, both can exist at the same time. For example, some research suggests around 20% of sex workers may be in situations involving trafficking or coercion, while others are actively choosing this work over other alternatives like factory labor or agriculture work, which by the way, can be a lot more dangerous than sex work or just low wage service jobs. And many workers are also financially supporting their families back home, sometimes sending millions collectively into rural communities every year. So again, it's not one story, it's many different stories happening at once. And I think that's the part that's probably the hardest for people to sit with. Thinking about it that something can be empowering for one person, survival for another, and exploitation for someone else. Because they're all in the exact same system, just under different circumstances. So I am still learning, I am still listening, I'm still having conversations with locals, foreigners. I'm talking to a lot of different people. I talked to some sex workers, some sexual health experts, some doctors, some community leaders, and I'm going to be sharing all of that with you in these series. But I think one of the most important parts is that it's really easy to come here as a tourist and see one version of reality and think you understand it, but you don't. Including myself. I'm including that, which is again why intentionally I came here on this trip, wanting to talk a lot more to people in different areas to get more of an understanding of what's going on. Anyways, I also just want to be clear that this is not Thailand, okay? I don't want to paint Thailand as like the sex place to go to. It's just one part of it. It's a very visible, very complex part, but it's still just one piece of a very beautiful country that has so many wonderful things to offer. In the next part, part 2, I want to go deeper into what it actually looks like inside the industry. So I have a lot of insider information from foreigners and from sex workers themselves. I'm also going to talk about general sex education and sex therapy. I sat down with a sexologist at her clinic and we talked all about Thai culture and sex and also what her patients come in looking for, what are, the top themes that emerge in her office, what are Thai people struggling with when it comes to sex, and that is really interesting. And also sexual health. What does sexual health look like in Thailand? People on the outside are thinking everyone's having sex, no condoms, nothing, but there are actually a lot of initiatives put into place from so many leaders in the sexual health industry. And finally, we are also going to touch upon the foreigner community and these stereotypes like the creepy old man that everyone talks about. So we're going to chat about that too, because that's where the conversation gets a lot more real. Anyways, friends, if you have any questions, comments, please drop them in the comments below. And also, if you want to engage more with me, you can check out my Patreon. I am going to link it in the description below, but there you can access a lot of behind the scenes of my travels with my partner Gab. And I share a lot more about my sexual education on there, a little bit more spicy content too. No nudes, by the way, no nudity on there. So yeah, you can check it out. I'm going to link it below if you want to support sex positive content. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in part 2. Je vous aime.